Is it common for you to isolate yourself? Do you make it a habit of you always want to be alone? You always just want to kind of pull away from the crowd. Now, that's not really a bad thing per se. Some people they get energized by pulling away. They get energized by being in a secluded place, having some alone time, and just for them to be able to be around crowds, just for them to be able to be around groups of people. But do you find yourself where you really you don't make any kind of efforts to connect with people, to make new relationships? You don't put yourself out there to make friends. It can be really difficult sometimes, it seems, to make new relationships once you cross the age of 30. It can be really difficult. But I want to talk to you today about why that's so important with making connections and finding out how to make new connections with people. I like to call myself a teacher. Now I say that partly because of my style of communicating with people. I like to personally understand. I personally like for the people who I'm talking to, for them to understand. So sometimes my stories can be a little bit drawn out, a little bit winded, because I want to make sure that you understand the reason behind my saying something, the reason behind my decision. But I call myself a teacher because essentially I have information. And I expect the same from you. You are a teacher. You may not consider yourself someone who disseminates information to groups of people, so you don't see yourself as a teacher. But the fact of the matter is, from the day that you learned how to say your ABCs, when you learn those 26 characters and you could say them forwards and backwards, you had the ability to be a teacher. When you learn how to count to 10, when you learn how to count to 20, when you took it up to 30, and when you learn how to go to 100 and beyond, you begin to have the capabilities of being a teacher. So with being a teacher, there's something that is so very paramount, is that if you're not in the profession itself, which kudos to those teachers out there, those who have made it their profession, those who are in the education system, whether you're a professor or you're a teacher in grammar schools, I appreciate everything that you're doing. But to those of you who just simply have information that you have the availability to disseminate to people who maybe they don't understand your trade. Maybe they don't understand the thing that is a hobby to you. Maybe they don't understand the thing that you are so passionate about, but you have the ability to teach them because you have the information and they don't. So where does this come in with talking about connecting with people? Well, you can't teach anybody if you don't connect with anybody. We know, and we've heard the term, I'm sure you've heard the term, that there are strength in numbers. And sometimes we can feel like, well, yeah, that may be in certain situations, but I just kind of like to be alone. Well, here's the beauty of the strength in numbers. It really comes in handy when a wild beast is chasing after you, and there are strength in numbers, and all you have to do is be the fastest one, or not even necessarily be the fastest one, but just faster than the slowest person. That's when strength in numbers is really helpful. Another time when strength in numbers comes in helpful is when you want to embark on something new, a new journey in your life, or just simply the next phase of your current journey. When you can connect with somebody who's already been there, done that, they've got their t-shirt and their hat, they probably even built a website because they did it. And when you can connect to somebody like that, somebody who's been there, who can turn around and who can teach you, the beauty of connecting with other people is simply this. It minimizes the amount of time that it takes you to solve a problem because someone has already solved the problem before you. There shouldn't be a time in your life necessarily where you're trying to recreate the wheel. Even if you're creating something in a brand new space, you can easily jump into another space and to see how somebody did it over here in a different area. If you look at Uber, you look at how the problem that they were solving was in transportation, but they could also see in on-demand video, they could see how on-demand was the way to go. So maybe there was nobody out there who had ever done Uber before, but there was somebody who had done on-demand. So all it took was creating a connection, whether it was a personal connection or it was a long distance connection. All it took was creating a connection with somebody who had already done it before, who had already created a model for how to do on-demand, and they figured it out and they were able to become a success. What is it in your life that you're trying to accomplish that's maybe just the next step in your journey? What is it that you're trying to accomplish in your life that maybe someone has never done before? It's a new journey for you. But who is it that's maybe close to you, or even someone that you can watch from afar, that you could simply connect with? You could connect with how they did it. You can connect with the blueprint that they've already created, and you can solve the problem in your own life of how to succeed just by connecting with somebody new. Connections are so very important, and it's important on the other side. There are things that you've walked through that people have yet to walk through, that they need you to connect. You shouldn't always be looking for an opportunity to siphon information from somebody. That's great, comes in handy when you're trying to solve your own problems. But now it's time for you, if you've already done that. Maybe you already have a full wallet of mentors that you submit yourself to, you submit your ideas to. But do you have students? Because it's one thing to have the information or to pull the information, which is great. That means that you're teachable. That means that you're moldable, that somebody can speak something to you and you can apply it and you can see how it works for you in your space. And now you can move forward because you're teachable. But now it's time to step into the space where you can now teach, where you can say, okay, this might be trivial, that I know how to manipulate a photo as a graphic designer. Okay, I know how to treat type as a graphic designer. I keep going back to that because that's what I was trained as, was a graphic designer. And so it's one thing a really good friend of mine told me when I was first trying to get into corporate America. I remember this and I will never forget this. And I was kind of down because I placed my resume out there and I hadn't seen any responses yet, but he kind of gave me a promise of what to expect. But here's what he said to me when I was down. He said, listen, Jeremy, you don't have to worry about the fact of getting a job. Let me tell you this. You could get a job tomorrow. You could keep that job for the next 5 or 10 years. But God forbid, on the 12th year, your hands get cut off in a horrible wreck. What do you now have the ability to do? He said, the thing that makes you you is not your ability to right click a mouse. The thing that makes you you is the information that's inside of you. They could take your hands away and you would still know how to teach it. It's very important that we know how important the information is that's housed inside of us. Our life is compiled of these complex moments, these moments of crosswinds where we cross paths with amazing people who just simply made us laugh, people who made us think, people who made us cry, people who emboldened us, people who made us passionate about the thing that we're very well doing today. And that's who you are. You are someone who's just simply waiting to cross paths with someone who's trying to figure out what their passion is, who's trying to figure out what their purpose is. But if you put yourself in a place of isolation, then you limit not only yourself from being able to be taught something new or something for your next step in your journey, but you limit somebody else's growth. Now, it's not to say that they won't get it. It's not to say that there's not anybody else out there who can teach them. But why would you want somebody else to take your opportunity? This is what it means to be relatable. Hi, this is Jeremy Gaston. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, feel free to share it with a friend and subscribe to our next episode. If you'd like free books and other materials on how to create deeper relationships and have healthier friendships and to create better employment, be sure to stop by my website, jrmygstn.com, and fill in your name and your email address, and you'll receive free content every week. And as always, go out there and serve better, to love better, to live better.